It's probably made from cow piss. Oh, it's a rebuttal? It's not the claim? You know, the reason why it's made is that it is very impressive to the young, ignorant, and simply not very smart mind. They hear it and they go, "Yeah, right," and they get bad arguments that drive them into that corner of politics. I would rather put it on the level of the argument for what's your proof for God? Well, just look around, all of creation. That works for a religious person, but it is not an actual argument. It doesn't actually work that way. You have not proven the connection between that. Oh, chat says audio is gone. Yeah, they can't hear you. You have to repeat everything once it's fixed.
Again, these updates are killing me. Every day there's an update either on Discord or Streamlabs. So I do apologize. Yeah, I didn't check my audio on Streamlabs. I was checking my audio on Discord.
Can you hear Smut now? Dear chat? Smut speaks.
Yeah.
Chat says Smut speaks.
I swear it's last week it was the chat and they turn off audio acceleration for whatever updated reason they did that. Then Discord gave me THX. What was that thing called again? THX spatial audio, where it sounded like Whisp was like talking in a giant room and there was like this deep booming sound to his voice. It's like, what? Did you get a new mic? It sounded really like tall or something. But yeah.
So that everything sounds like the THX intro in the cinema?
I could turn it back on. People will know.
That goes.
It was almost like an echo, but there was no reverberation. It was just this sort of deep sound. Yeah, I don't know. Everything has been changed on me. So thanks, guys, for telling me. Anyway.
Okay, now they say turn gain down. You're clipping.
Oh, I'm too loud. Okay. How's now? Should be better now.
I hope better. The problem is that the chat has lag. So every reaction takes time.
Good point. Okay. Fair enough.
So what's Smart said this is actually a rebuttal video. It is not a claim, but the rebuttal. And so why are we here if he's already taking it apart?
Yeah. Well, as I said, you guys never heard, as I said before, my mic was off. The topic is self-contradictory. It sort of defeats itself. You don't have to explain how one piece of media encapsulates an entire piece of content. You cannot have all movies be political, all books be political. That makes no sense. So
but it is that's a psyop. It's a psychological strategy. They know the claim is wrong, but through their own definitions, through the socialist redefinition of all these terms, they claim that everything is political. Although what they really mean, what they do, is they politicize everything. You can politicize everything, and you only politicize something when you want to have a say in it. So when you make the claim, all X is political, what you're really saying is, I want a say in X. And since they also say everything is political, that means they want to say in everything. That means including your thoughts.
All right. Let me introduce the YouTuber and the video again. This is from Manic the Manic Mechanic. And this came out last year in September. It has about 7,150 views and quite a lot of upvotes. So that's good. I don't know why there's 60 downvotes. Like, what would be bad about talking about...
That was probably the commies.
I don't know. It's a weird thing to say all things are X, and to get away with that logically is almost impossible. It's you
only Sith deal in absolutes, which is an absolute.
All Siths deal in very poor syllogisms. They don't understand common logic or formal logic, for that matter.
They are the enemies of logic. Philosophers throughout the millennia have argued against what today we call socialists and communists. They just refer to them as dialectic sophists. This is all the way from Moses Maimonides down to Confucius.
Anyway, anytime
they've all complained about the people using these very tactics.
Anytime they use the word diegesis or any kind of, like, we're changing the way we talk about or make movies or tell stories, like, okay, what are you doing? What are you really trying to do here, aside from waste millions of dollars?
Yeah,
and
for what goal? For what goal? Why do we need to change how we talk about the thing? What's the point?
What's the purpose? Because there's lots of reasons to make modern art, to do something different, to try something new. That's great. I'm not against the artist struggling and making something he thinks is worthwhile. That's great. Go for it. The difference is you don't do that with a gigantic responsibility or IP or a major production that, Star Wars or whatever have you, that ends up upending everything for the sake of being creative. That's not what you do on that scale. And it's kind of sad to see
I am against random garbage pretending to be modern art or art in general. That involves absolutely no skill at all.
I've
seen too many. I've seen too many galleries. I've seen too many student productions of this or that. We have an arts university here in town, and every year they have the big thing where where there are several galleries in town open, where all the semesters present their stuff, and you just wonder why. Why are you making this? This is I'd say 99% of that is random garbage. Children would tinker, it's not the right word, basteln, at home by putting glue and glitter together. There's no reason, there's no rhyme, there's no point. It's just doing random things.
It's like they never got the opportunity to work with arts and crafts or paint in grade school or high school, and now I have money, now I have time, I'm going to put it into fine arts, or I'm going to take an elective or whatever they want, and then they get to experiment on their own time, and there they go. Now it could be a community college, it could be lesser tuition, it could be government funded. There's all kinds of things going on in certain countries, but if they never had the opportunity as kids, they would not be doing these weird things in university. And I've seen that when I was at York U, where you see the actual artists and they do whatever kind of representative art or surrealistic art. There's all kinds of styles that they're skilled at already. And then you see the guys who just managed to get it in their first year, and it's absolute confusing. There's barely any technique.
It's the parents paying for it, and
maybe.
And I also don't understand why many of these courses aren't teaching any technique.
I would say,
because I would imagine if I go to study art, I would learn all the technique that exists.
I would say they
in order to be able to make what I want to make.
I've gone to several schools. The actual art schools are strict on who they let in. So you have to have some actual skills before they accept you. You have to go through the whole process of interviewing, and that takes 2 or 3 interviews, whatever. Other private schools, they'll just take your money. We don't care. Sure, come on in. You got the cash. We'll teach you. And I've seen very expensive programs.
Those are the ones that prevent new Hitlers.
Maybe. I don't know. It's funny. It's like some of these people, I was here and this is my first drawing, and then like 2 years later they drew a slightly better looking anime character. It's like, wow, you spent tens of thousands of dollars to draw a bit better when you could have done that at home and just practiced for an hour a day.
Yeah, because that's what all the greatest artists in history, or most of them, are self-taught. The same goes for musicians. Many of the really great composers right now are completely self-taught. They did not go through any classical training. They had passion and dedication.
Well, they did have
many great mangaka. They did not go to any university to learn how to draw manga. They just did.
In terms of music, there's actually some interesting genetic studies on a family of children having musical talent, but it does take at minimum 10 plus or minus 2 years to get good at anything. So you could say, yeah, Mozart was a genius, and there's lots of geniuses that I've met in music that could sight read at 3. They could perform at 5. It's incredible, but they still had to get that 10-year average to produce anything.
Talent is really just a starting bonus and a higher skill cap that you can reach. But you still need to work, which is why many kids who are not gifted outperform the gifted kids, because the gifted kids for too many years don't need to put in any effort. And by the time they have to put in effort, they haven't learned how to put in effort, and that's how they hit a wall. And then the non-gifted kids outperform them in all the respective things that are possible.
Okay.
Because they know they've already done for 5 for 10 years, sitting down, learning, dedicating themselves, etc.
All right. Well, let's start the video in 16 minutes. Not too bad. I think Gimen's going to pop in eventually. But here we go.
Just released and is currently the talk of this game seems to be controversial by all accords, as many Bethesda games seem to have become. The biggest of these controversies isn't actually related to the gameplay itself, but the writing and alleged insertion of leftist political signaling. This has reignited the whole woke video games debate that has been going on for a whole decade at this point. Of course, whether a forced political virtue signal is
the only reason there is a debate of whether it exists or not is because the socialists who put all their propaganda into the games are denying that they're doing it until they have taken over so much of the industry that they now say, oh, it's good that we're doing it and that we've always done it. Yeah. It's always been woke. It's always been woke. They are saying that now.
It's kind of strange to have anyone, it doesn't matter who they are, redefining how a wheel works or how an FPS works or what it means. Yeah, great. Do an analysis. I think that's fantastic for your thesis of whatever program you want to analyze society. You want to talk about video games, entertainment, health, bad, whatever. Great, do that. But you can't start saying that Call of Duty is a murder sim, or all these things have been disproven decades ago. So we don't need to worry about all this junk about, oh, it's just an incel creator environment simulator or something like that. No, it's a pastime. And like any pastime, it could be abused, it could be forgotten, it could have a skill with it, you could have a passion with it, it's a hobby, etc. So no, it's not some teaching tool for murder or some political message. This is not how it goes.
JS in the chat asks, are we just going to ignore the Sweet Baby Ink stuff then? This was cut off in the mic issue in the beginning. This video is from, what did you say, November last year?
September of last year. So this is during the whole Starfield issue when Az did his thing.
Yeah, so that was long before the Sweet Baby Ink thing. So that's why he can't not mention it, because it hasn't happened yet.
He actually did talk about it, I think, in November. And he, like other YouTubers were talking about it in October and November because they heard about it back then. And that's
so the starting waves, the beginning ripples.
When people were like, "What is this? What is this? What is a consulting firm having to do with video games? What is that all about?" And we got some defenders of it. Was weird. It was a weird time. We're like, "Yeah, whatever. Who cares? It's just some weird little group."
They always try to minimize it that way. It's just some weirdos in the corner. They have no power. They're not relevant. Just ignore them. Which,
Why
by
do
the
you
way,
even care?
Yeah. Until you figure out what it actually is, and because this sounds outrageous, what I'm going to say now. In their academic papers, socialists refer to themselves as viruses, bacteria, cancer, pathogens. All of those horrible, horrible things, because that's the tactics they want to use. They want to be like cancer. And if you understand how cancer works, it makes a lot of sense. Because cancer, also, if you have a tumor, it sends out little agents that tell your immune system, there's nothing to see here. Everything's fine here. Please, white blood cells, go away. There's nothing. Everything's fine here. And that's the same thing. They tell you, ignore those cancerous people over there in the corner. They're harmless. Same thing.
All right.
Into games and the target audience addicted Twitter brain-rotted contrarians to own the chuds by mentioning Metal Gear Solid, because this and this are exactly the same thing in every way, shape, and form, right? Well, let's assess their argument. To properly explain my rebuttal to all the tired, all games are political arguments, I would like to place games into 3 distinct categories: political themes, political backdrops, and ham-fisted political.
Why are we putting games in these 3 categories specifically?
Well, he hopefully explains. He has he tries to categorize something. Want to see where it goes.
All right,
I think that's an okay attempt.
Okay.
I think the idea is mainly because of the topic of the entire video. So he's trying to kind of put it into this so that it's easier to explain.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the question where this comes from is how do video games in actuality interact with the term of politics?
Yeah, because he brought up,
and that can happen in different things. It can happen like since the socialists are incapable of making these distinctions, they will mistake the exploration of a philosophical idea already as politics, because they see, this is a moral good or moral bad, and therefore it's politics, because
right.
Opinion good, opinion bad.
Yeah, I wanted him to actually describe or define what politics means in video games. Now he's just making categories, so I'm like, maybe...
Yeah, people skip this step.
Maybe he'll
I think usually not maliciously, but usually simply because it's... The more common a term is, the more likely we forget to just make sure that we're all on the same page about what it means.
Maybe he's going to go backwards and redefine it, because once he's wrapped his brain around these categories he's created, he can go, okay, now I know what a political element in a game is. Now we can talk about it. It's like, okay, great. Thank you. So this is a bit backwards for me, but he's doing the right thing. Anyway.
Themes would be what the story deals with military conflict heavily and comes to the groundbreaking conclusion that war is bad.
I'll rid this world of partless wars, Jack.
This is a category that most people will point to if you don't like the modern way games handle politics.
And that itself isn't actually politics.
We would have to define.
That's just a philosophical and moral question of what is this concept called war?
Well,
and how does it affect people?
He's talking about the narrative in that regard, but he has to define what do you mean by war in regards to politics or a body politic. And then you're talking about the military, and then you have to go into what is Metal Gear Solid. You're not the military. You're a spec ops guy, and you're a solo, so it's not even the military. It's you're right off. You're not even known to the military. You're not even known to the politics involved until you succeed your mission. Oh, by the way, America has saved the world from nuclear whatever. Let's go meet the president. You know, like all this other nonsense, which has nothing to do with the actual story. So, do we have to make the separation now that a military is an extension of the body politic? And
I do not expect this video to mention the term body politic at all.
Yeah. I thought
you won't ever hear it from the socialists, because that would give them away.
See, I would have preferred if he actually got into like what is it the German military called the Wehrmacht? Yeah. So that's the big argument of okay, the Nazis were the political party, the German military were just doing the will of the political party, and they did some things bad. There was lots of war crimes, but they were not the ones calling the shots. They were just the arm. They were the extension of the orders doing whatever they wanted.
It's your point as the executive branch.
Right. So that's when we say, okay, is a military story political? It's like not necessarily. Depends on how you describe politics. Mm-hmm. If everything's an extension of the body politic, then everything's political, which is like saying, well,
that's the trick they use.
Yeah, every story is about people. Well, everything's about people. Everything's psychological. Everything's sociological. It's like, that's stupid. You're missing the point. So this is where I want to get the finer language here, and I think this is why I wanted him to go through the definition as opposed to categorization. Anyway.
Yeah. 1 second, just to give you an idea of what the difference between philosophy and politics is, because a lot of the time when people talk about philosophy or their personal philosophy, they instead say their personal politics. Philosophy is the thing that should inform politics so they can be good, so that it can make sense. If you don't have that, then politics goes rampant, goes corrupt, and, well, brings about hell.
It's a very small branch.
Why the corrupt people fight philosophy and claim that their bullshit is philosophy when it isn't. But smart.
Out of all the philosophy I've read, politics is a very small part. I mean, a lot of people, obviously there's political science, that's a different thing. But the very notion of politics and philosophy is very simple. Outside of reading Aristotle or a few of the originals, it's barely talked about because philosophers don't really care. It's like politics is big, and yes, it's part of it, but it's like, yeah, we got other more interesting things to worry ourselves about. The organizations of how humans want to control each other. We're like, yeah, don't do bad stuff. It's fine. Don't do wars. Like, just use your brain. Okay, think before acting. All these basic.
War is bad is not a political statement.
Yeah. Well, we talk about how most politics are bad, and that's how even the pre-Socratics were like that. And we talk about the regimes of Plato; they're all bad. They get worse as you go down. And democracy is what we've got. That was the worst one outside of despotism. So,
no. There is a worse one, and that is the people's government. That is actually worse. The democracy and the people's government, or people's republic, which is what the socialists always call their things that they then claim is also a democracy, they're opposed to each other. They're both in the spectrum of low concentration power, but you could say democracy is the positive form and the people's government is the negative form. And you will find very few texts about the people's government, except in socialist writings.
Okay.
They always write about that. And the trick here that they use is in the letters from Friedrich Engels to Karl Marx, Friedrich Engels wrote, and I quote, translated of course, the democratic republic is the specific form of the dictatorship of the proletariat. That's why they always call themselves democratic republics, although they are not that.
All right, I think we went a little...
So the short version, this is the newspeak. He says, Friedrich Engels effectively says, dictatorship is democracy.
Okay. let's
That's the trick. That's the entire trick.
All right, cool.
War is peace.
Let's not go that far. Anyway, let's get back to the video.
They sneer at you saying you don't like politics in video games, yet you like Metal Gear, as if the characters complaining about capitalism in Saints Row 2022 is nearly the level of intellect that Metal Gear is written for.
Told you before, the idols are trying to build a post-capitalist society where money is not a concept.
Yeah? You look like you could use a mimosa.
Thanks, Eli.
I can tell you love it.
Okay. I don't have to love it, I have to pay my student loans.
Amen.
On to the next category, we have political backdrops, which would encompass games such as Persona 5, Sonic Adventure 2, Castle Crashers, and even Super Mario. The content and messaging of these games do not take political stances, yet take place in a world with political leaders. The Mushroom Kingdom is...
So because Princess Peach is a princess, it's political?
She's a that's the backdrop.
That's the.
But also by that definition, then as well, everything would be political after all.
That's so.
Then the Grimm fairy tales would be political because there's princesses and princes and evil queens and shit.
If you're describing a story where the kid is walking down a sidewalk, well, the sidewalk was made by a bunch of construction workers for the city. A city is part of a state or some kind of organization where there's organization of people and labor, and
well, therefore the story of the kid walking down the sidewalk is a story about the proletariat.
Okay, I know what he's saying.
Simple as this. It's like, this is how you show that how nonsensical this claim is. This connection building.
I know what he's
schizophrenic almost.
I know what he's saying, but I mean, no one is thinking the Mushroom Kingdom is a monarchical system of government.
I'm sorry, you're wrong. This is the exact logic that the socialists use. The types like Anita Sarkeesian, they use this type of logic to justify their bullshit arguments.
All right. Anyway.
They're cherry picking.
Institution that is games. In Super Mario Wonder, both Daisy and Peach are in on the adventure in the Flower Kingdom. Both of the princesses have abandoned their posts at the...
That looks really good. When did this come out?
That was recent.
Okay.
It was the last Mario game.
All right, so this was made 2023 September. So yeah, this looks really... I got to play these games. Holy crap.
In this game to take place in this adventure, yet nobody cares because it's clear Nintendo doesn't care about the world building of Mario. We see no further insight on the political workings of the Mushroom Kingdom or the hierarchy there is. Because as the big boy Reggie Fils-Aimé once said,
making political statements are for other people to do. We want people to smile and have fun when they...
Then why, Reggie, did you censor Xenoblade Chronicles X so much that you redesigned all of the armor and the game had no separate slider for the music volume? Reggie. And you removed the boob slider and the character creator. Why, Reggie? Why?
So
no politics? You already did this shit back then. What happened under your tutelage. I do not know why the Americans love this guy so much.
So... they took out the volume slider and the boob slider for character creation?
You could not even invert the axis for the camera.
Okay.
The whole thing, I don't know how much this affected the music sliders, because all the other games have separate sound sliders.
Oh.
This only had a master slider. And the soundtrack for Xenoblade Chronicles X is divisive, let's say. There are some people who really love it, and I get a headache from it. Drives me nuts. That's why I couldn't play the game, although it was the game I got with my Wii U bundle. And I've played all the other Xenoblade games. So it was, I can't play that because the music drives me nuts. Maybe I'll try it in an emulator and check. I have to admit, I have never checked whether the Japanese version has these things, but it definitely has the boob slider in the character creator. But Nintendo of America thinks that is we cannot expect our American teenagers to have a character creator with a boob slider. That is oh no. Also, we need to cover up all these girls with all their Japanese clothing. We can't have that. It's horrible. And then in Europe, we get the same version that the Americans already butchered.
Was he even in control? He must have finished his stint in CEO a while ago, right? Nintendo?
Oh, that game happened when he was still there.
Well, when he was... Okay. All right.
Even here, you can see him in front of the Switch thing, which happened way later.
All right.
More substance like Persona 5, let's look at the two politician characters and how they're written. I will try to be as spoiler free as I can because I know you, Chaz, are watching right now and you swear you'll finish Persona 5 even though it's been 2 months. If you are worried about spoilers, just know that only one of these characters is pivotal to the plot, and this timestamp is when I am done talking about Persona. There is a confidant in the game that you can talk to named Toranosuke Yoshida. Apologies if I butchered that name.
Sorry for interrupting here. Chat, I need to clarify. This is specifically Nintendo of America. Nintendo of Japan doesn't give a shit. Nintendo of Japan released the game properly. When the localization happened for Xenoblade Chronicles X, Nintendo of America made all these tons of changes, including redesigning the entirety of the armor, of the clothing for the characters. Because in that game, all the armor pieces you put on actually showed up on the character. They redesigned all of them for their weird puritanical nonsense reasons. That was specifically Nintendo of America's doing. And it has done these things with many other titles as well. This is, and whether this comes from the Christian conservative, we need to protect the kids angle, or from the socialist, feminist, we need to cover up the girls angle, doesn't matter. It is the same result, and both of these approaches, both of these thought patterns are brain dead. They're both dumb, they're both wrong. And they're both invasive. They're both, I would call them Oedipal. Because they want to control what you get and how you get it. They don't want you to get the actual product. They want you to get their version of that. And that's because they claim that they know what you like more and what is best for you. Which is why, and this is all coming from the socialists, no matter what they call themselves, whether they call themselves woke or something else. When they say Western standards, international standards, Western audience, that is never true. There are no such standards, and then if they exist, I want to know who made them, because I certainly didn't elect that guy or woman or committee or these commissars, and neither does anyone in the West want these things? So who's that audience? There is no such thing, because this is another trick of the socialists with their word games. This is how they wage the culture war. They want to control the cultural products so that they reflect what they pursue with their ideology. That's what this is. All these terms are lies. They lie to all of these companies about what they make. This is what Sweet Baby Inc. does. They say, oh, you must do it this way for social reasons, for environmental reasons, and ESG is environment, social governance. So it's about governing. Why the hell would a company care about that wants to sell a product that is cool and that sells through being cool?
Okay. Talking about the one confidant or social link with the I think he wants to run for mayor. I'm trying to remember what story was there. But anyway.
Not Japanese. Yoshida is a disgraced politician. Despite his entire social link revolving around the career of politics, the conflict of the confidant resolves around the character's struggles of overcoming people's perception of him from what he did in the distant past. That's what we're led to believe anyway. Despite Yoshida being blackballed after the scandal, he keeps moving forward, advocating for his ideals independent of his past that haunts him. These scandals being embezzling party funds, missing a legislative meeting to take a personal vacation, and finally calling a voter an idiot in an open forum. What makes this character so relatable is that these are all personal failings. Atlas took on the challenge of writing a politician to be likable and actually succeeded. This was all because many of the emotional story beats could also occur in the corporate realm, just like how it did here. For a politician that is portrayed negatively, the writing is mostly the same. The issues the Phantom Thieves have with Shido are not because Shido is a chud and will implement evil policy. The main problem is how Shido is attaining that political power. Not to mention that he drunkenly harassed a woman and blamed our teenage protagonist, got a prostitute pregnant and abandoned the child, got Wakaba killed on top of a whole host of other heinous acts. None of the condemnation of Shido, however, is based on his political ideology. Better yet, his ideology is never explored outside of an exposition dumped by Sojiro because it's not that important. Leftoids will say he is literally Trump, where rightoids will say he is literally Biden.
Huh?
My mic was off. It's more or less a good spot because this is not a display of politics, it's a display of corruption. This man wants, as it is the way he described it, he wants power for the sake of power. Not for any specific agenda. He wants power to enrich himself, possibly, which is what power for the sake of power is. Wants control over other people, for whatever reason. And this is the mechanics we see in corruption and at large happening in politics, not for reasons of policy, but simply for reasons of self-aggrandization and greed. This is why it is so important that we figure out how we can keep people like that out of politics. How do we keep psychopaths and narcissists out of politics? That is the big question, because it's not simply that, as the saying goes, power corrupts and ultimate power corrupts. Ultimately, that is too simply said. That effect does exist. But when you only rely on that, it makes it seem futile. As if, oh, well, there's power, so people who try to take power, they get corrupted anyway, so why even bother? What is much more important, however, is that people who are already corrupt are drawn to power, to positions of power, like moths to a flame. That is the real problem, because there can be good rulers, there can be good people in power, there can be people who reject corruption in power. They may be rare, but it's also in part because there's so many corrupt people. When they spot there's an honest guy or an honest woman, they will saw off that guy's legs as soon as possible, because that is the biggest threat to a corrupt system. That's it. We need to realize that corrupt people strive towards power, and we need to stop them from doing so. And that is also on all sides of any political spectrum, whether you have it one-dimensional, two-dimensional, or 13-dimensional.
All right.
That's all.
Being projection on both parts because there is no such indication of whom he would be more sympathetic to. Also, he is literally Japanese. Some would argue that Shido is clearly a parody of Shinzo Abe because both made promises that they don't actually fulfill. Almost like they're politicians trying to get elected. Even if he supposedly is a parody of Shinzo Abe, the character firmly stands on his own without needing any real-world context. Also, Shinzo Abe never had an illegitimate childlike Shido. Rest in peace, my man Shinzo.
He also wasn't bald. Does he look bald? I don't think he looks bald.
I don't know why they're making, or he's making this connection, but okay.
Who is making that connection?
Yeah, I've never heard this.
We get to the crux of this video, political sloganeering. This would encompass the games which have nothing to do with politics inherently, have a couple of things that are clearly just there as means of virtue signaling. Virtue signaling, as defined by Wikipedia, is expressing a conscious, self-righteous, moral viewpoint with the intent of communicating good character. There is no discussion or...
That definition is very milquetoast. Virtue signaling is specifically about pretending to be of an opinion or act, that can sometimes happen as well, that that person does not actually believe in, but knows gives social bonus points. This needs to be phrased much, much harder than it is written on Wikipedia.
Debate in game about what transpires. It just is. These tend to be more of the trendy culture war social issues variety, such as LGBT, feminism, race politics, climate change, etc. This would be what Starfield falls under, with its inclusion of pronouns in the character creator, on top of many other things.
My husband?
Might I add that mods removing the pronouns toggle have been banned from Nexus mods, not just for Starfield, but in any game that may have this feature in the future. Other games with this current day political messaging would be Overwatch 2, Spider-Man Remastered, Spider-Man Miles Morales, Dead by Daylight, A Hat in Time, Shovel Knight, and the Dead Space remake. What all of these have in common is that the current day hot topics have weaseled their way into the game, sticking out like a sore thumb.
Are they hot topics, or are they pushed to be in everyone's face by the activists? Because if these people didn't have the social media as a tool, as a weapon for pushing all of this pressure onto these companies that look at social media and think, oh, these things are totally important, we should listen to them. Do you think any of this crap would have that kind of traction? I don't think so.
I can't imagine Persona 5 being on anyone's radar except for Persona fans if it wasn't promoted and marketed the way it was. Because I don't think Persona 4, as much as we loved it, or I loved it, was that popular that people noticed it in the mainstream in the West. So the marketing campaign for Atlas is pretty interesting. They're coming up with a lot of great games, whether they're popular or not. And they come up with a video. They promote the video months in advance before the game comes out, get all this hype going naturally, and then it finally comes out. And I think Unicorn Overlord sold 500,000 units within a month. So they are niche games, but Persona 5 is so big, and people may have heard of 3 and 4 as the years went by. These are like decades apart, these games. Like Persona 1 and 2 are like, those are like the 90s, 80s and 90s. So, at least the 90s, yeah. So this is a natural progression. So I don't think 5 would have been picked up if it wasn't for that release thing with all the other things that came out for Persona 4, all the mini games, not the mini games, the offshoots, the fighting game, the music games, the Q games. It just would not have been as popular because it was building. It's kind of like Mario building up. Like no one really played Mario in the arcades. They knew of it, or maybe a pizza shop might have an arcade game kiosk. But I don't know. The hype is different for Persona 5. People really liked it.
He leaps off of rooftops and flips backwards to face the camera before falling into a headfirst dive is just full of the exaggerated swagger of a black teen.
A lot of these elements slithering their way into the game after it came out. The remake of Dead Space replaced white characters with people of color, one clearly implying that she is a lesbian at the beginning of the game. Even the bathrooms, which have previously been sex segregated, are now a single intersex bathroom.
Nicole?
Yeah. First I've heard from her in weeks.
We're 5 minutes out. You still got that thing on repeat? Guess you're...
I've heard the excuse that, well, it's because the company is really cheap and they want to cut costs. And you build these giant ships and you cannot afford. You want to cut corners on the toilets that you put into
the labeling. There's literally no cost when you label a door to say that this is a bathroom for this or that person, not to have person A, person B, and person C, whatever the hell person C is. This is a very strange thing to see in Dead Space. We
have for I don't even know for how long, have had separate bathrooms in public spaces for very, very obvious reasons. And people did not cut corners for that. The only exception would be if the only bathroom you have is really only one toilet, as you, for example, have in doctors' offices that are usually repurposed flats or repurposed houses. That's a different thing. But if you have the bigger ones, the public ones, it's always separated.
Yeah, it would be a civil engineering issue of how to design a bathroom on a spaceship, and someone in this production went, "Hey, we got to get the labeling right." You're like, wait, it's a bathroom. Yeah. What are you talking about?
The only third item, the only third icon you would put onto that would be the wheelchair for the disabled people. Now, you wouldn't probably expect that on this kind of spaceship, although accidents happen. But that again, the wheelchair proper bathroom would again be unisex, not intersex, chat, by the way. Or as he said, it's not intersex, it's unisex. Because that is usually also just one. I think the only next thing would be a sign for facilities where a mother could tend to her child, and that is usually in the women's bathroom.
Yeah,
you want some privacy for that.
All right, I got a super chat. I did not see it. Thank you, sir. Frog Jupiter. Thank you, sir, for the 2. Do you plan to watch the A24 Civil War film? Is that an American thing? Like the amendment or 24? I don't know what that is. Is that just come out?
It doesn't ring a bell. Is that a new thing?
It must be. I've never heard of it. I'm not familiar with all the American amendments. I do apologize. So I don't know what that is. Unless I'm wrong, and we're talking about like something else entirely. So anyway, you could fill that in with me. Maybe leave a comment or on the Discord, and I'll happily respond to that.
This rumor is not. It's rough. Easy to say the wrong thing.
I don't blame you. I'd listen to my girlfriend over Hammond reciting security protocols.
Overwatch is more than willing to retcon multiple characters to be LGBT whenever an SA scandal happens at Activision Blizzard. There was a Pride event.
Oh no, another sex scandal in our company. Make a character gay.
Is that the response?
That is literally what they're doing.
Yeah.
And now the game is dead. For other reasons, but
yeah,
it's dead.
A pride pin for your character to wear. The Twitter account made it very clear that targeting a player for wearing the pride pin will result in a ban.
Now, I've seen a lot of concerns about this charm. I've seen some people from the LGBT community say that they have seen comments from people saying that when they play killer, they're just going to tunnel and camp every person who is wearing this charm. And I think that's pretty sad.
But in the situations where the entire team is wearing them, you are supposed to kill them as a killer.
This is a team combat game, right? You're fighting each other?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's you have a group of 4 survivors and 1 killer. The survivors are supposed to power up the generators and then escape from the place, and the killer in the meantime
I see.
basically has to hunt them.
I got you.
So yeah.
So you're gonna kill them anyway.
Yep.
All right.
And they have a giant, colorful thingy on them now instead of just meshing with the background, which makes them easier to spot. I think that kind of prey deserves to die.
Okay.
A member of the LGBT community person. You know, my cousins are, my wife's cousins are, my nephew is. So what I'm going to do...
That's a lot of gay people.
Yeah, how did you manage...
How does that happen?
Maybe he has a gigantic family. He has like 30 cousins.
Anyway.
Anyway.
Maybe they're all married with each other.
Yeah.
I hope he's not from Alabama.
Now, you know, I can't tell all of you all the time. Because I think inclusiveness is important. And, hey, if...
Why is there black and brown on the rainbow? Aside from this candy nonsense on the right. Why is that? Those are not rainbow colors.
What?
Brown is at least a color, but it is what you get when you measure all the colors together. It's not something you have on the rainbow. Black is not a color.
Yeah, they messed up the additive and subtractive color model. Either way, what does equality win? Like, what is equality winning? What is it trying to do?
And socialism is not about equality, it's about equity. Big difference. You do not get... They have used equality for a long, long time in order to obfuscate that. But what equity means is it's just a tool for power to define people. Because in order to create equity, you first have to find discrepancies between people, between demographics, and then claim that, this is... you have +5 points on this thing, and you other demographic, in contrast, therefore have -5 points on the same thing. So now we do not look at you as an individual. We only look at you as a demographic, as a collective. And so now we correct that by sabotaging everyone who has the +5 and propping everyone up who has the -5. And the latter one doesn't really work, so they just tear everyone down. Carl Vonnegut has written a great story called Harrison Bergeron that really just does that, where all the fast people get weights put on them so that the lame people can also win in competitions. And all the beautiful people have to wear masks so that the ugly people don't feel inferior. And all the smart people, they have an implant in their ear that randomly plays a high-pitched noise that breaks their concentration so that they are equal with the dumb people. That is what equity truly creates. It just destroys the ability for excellence, just so that the not-so-great people can have emotional comfort. It is solely about jealousy and narcissism, and it is a means to control, because through this they can always say, we have to saw off your legs, and we have to saw off your legs, and that guy over there or that woman over there, she gets a free degree in chemistry, although she has absolutely no clue what that is.
Okay.
If we all that we want to be inclusive, and we all supported them by wearing that charm too and flying our pride flag.
No. Your solidarity. This is another trick that the socialists love to use. They always call for solidarity. And if you don't join them in this move of solidarity, this setting a sign or something, or how they phrase it. In German, they always say it's ein Zeichen setzen, setting a sign. It's symbolic politics, and it's virtue signaling in action, and you have to join it. And if you don't, well, you must be a bad person, because why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you do this? Why wouldn't you do what all the other people in the cult do? You must be you must actually be a traitor. You must be of the other side. You must be a Nazi. You must be a fascist. When really, this call for solidarity, that is itself a call, the left's real call for fascism. You have to do what they say. You have to walk. You have to march in line, not stand out, and do exactly as you're told. Otherwise, you are the enemy. That is what fascism is. The left is fascistic, and their calls for solidarity is fascism. It is emotional extortion. That's what he's doing here right now. He's telling you, if you don't do this as well, you are a bad person. Because I'm a good person and I do this, and if you don't join me in doing this, then you must be a bad person. Because why wouldn't you do this? It's actually evil. And he might not even be an evil guy. He's just brainwashed by this whole crap, by these crap mechanics that make him believe, if I follow these guidelines, this rule set that the socialists have given me, then I am a good person. And I want to be a good person, therefore I do it. That's how all cults act. They try to reel you in through good promises of how to be a good person and how to save the world. And really, they only exploit you.
Tunnel us all. That's
in the game that can risk you getting banned if you do the objective in the game, if you are one of the killers, such as Jason Voorhees, to eliminate the survivors.
With this game, we are here all year. And it's the other 11 months that make this 1 month from Dead by Daylight so meaningful. Because the other 11 months...
It's drag fetishists like that on the right that give trans people a bad name. Because what the fuck?
I would ask also, what the fuck even am I looking at?
This has nothing to do with gender dysphoria. This is pure fetishism, and it is ugly as hell.
It's a caricature.
Months that love is always there, you know?
The problem with the implementation of current day politics in games is that it is clear that the writer who implemented such current day politics is a Starbucks drinking, city dwelling, white guilt ridden Californian or New Yorker who isn't a part of the industry for the love of the craft, but has infiltrated the industry as a means to influence the minds of gamers. When I see characters bitch about capitalism, student loans, patriarchy, immigration, or whatever buzzwords that progressives like to use, I am immediately pulled out of the game and am brought to realize that what I'm experiencing is completely conjured up by people who I have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. If I, as an American, roll my eyes at this, how receptive do you think a Turkish or Japanese player would be to these American culture war issues being thrusted into video games that they consume? Games used to be timeless pieces of art, but with the advent of games as a service, abandonware, and wokeness in video games, the expiration date on these games are more apparent than ever. 38 years later, Super Mario Bros. For the NES is getting played with speedrunners continuing to break world records to this day. In 38 years from now, will anybody ever know about the Black Lives Matter imagery featured in Spider-Man Miles Morales?
What type of whack ass shit? Look at this whack ass shit. Like, they ain't fucking... Like, that was their excuse to try to throw that in there, right? Was some fucking random, hey, thank you, Black Lives Matter. Like, what?
Even just 3 years after the
Black Lives Matter is a scam by, one, the Democrat Party of the US, because all the money went there, if not into the pockets of those self-proclaimed Marxism-trained leaders of Black Lives Matter, who then bought a couple houses with all the money. And there are also communist race supremacists in the footsteps of the Black Panthers. Militants. What to glorify this here is unironically equivalent to putting up a swastika. It's the same ideology, it's only the arrow of who the awesome race is and who the shitty race is just turned around. It's the exact same mechanics. And that is what people need to realize.
After the game came out, Black Lives Matter went from being a force to be reckoned with to going bankrupt. BLM may have been the popular...
Oh, they didn't go bankrupt, they were shut down.
BLM kind of went bankrupt because all the money was funneled out. So
yeah,
that's where the bankruptcy comes from.
It had served its purpose. It's a controlled bankruptcy, just like the Soviet Union. It was a controlled destruction. with all the ideologues leaving the Soviet Union, going into the West and continuing all that shit there, as poor people who fled this horrible regime, and then they continued the same shit here. It's like the Democrat voters who leave California because their politics ruined everything, move into another state, and then vote for the same politics. It's horrible. And you could say it does actually work kind of like a virus. The host dies, so the pathogen moves on to the next host.
Here is Vladimir for a super chat, unrelated, of course, as he always does. Since O.J. Simpson died a few days ago, did you think he did it?
Yes.
This is a very old story back in the 90s, I think.
Yeah, I think 93 or 94.
Yeah, this trial took so long. I do not recall it. And
they specifically got an all-black. What is it called? What is it that you use there? Not the judge, the 12 people. Jurors, right. They specifically got all black jurors who they then told, this is all about race. So you must acquit him because he's black.
Well,
so they did. That's how he got free. That's the entire trick.
He got some amazing lawyers on his side. I don't know if he actually paid them. There's a story of how he actually got them and whether or not he paid the money at the time. And after the fact, I don't think he did. That were just exceptional. So if he has an amazing cast of lawyers helping him out, a lot of things could happen. So no, I don't really pay attention to true crime stories very well. You'd have to show me the evidence and some of the scenarios. Maybe there's a book I could read on it. But I don't. It never really got my attention. So they call it the trial of the century. I'm like, yeah, whatever. going through high school or whatever. It's like, yeah, whatever.
Game was released, but it sure is. Play Spider-Man Miles Morales for the first time will still be subjected to BLM sloganeering regardless, because some champagne socialist HR director really want to virtue signal in Sony's big blockbuster title. If you are disagreeing with me currently, I am glad you are still even hearing me out. But more importantly, let me list some hypothetical examples of...
Dude, just in general, you have too many of these sound interruptions with begging for interaction with your channel.
It's kind of funny. Like and subscribe.
Do one big thing. Yeah, do one big thing at the end, and that's fine. But these constant interruptions, especially since they have sound inputs as well, they're absolutely unnerving and they're distracting from what you're saying. It's like invasive ads that constantly play. It's not something I would want to watch. I would want to keep watching your channel for. Because I would constantly have this nonsense in my ears or in my face.
Here's another super chat from Vladimir.
Sloganeering in video games.
I'm just going to read it real quick. Personally, I think if he didn't do it, he does know who did.
He did some very sketchy things as well, like pulling pranks of standing behind a door with a knife stabbing motion and then going, haha.
I don't know.
If you love your wife, you would not do that.
I don't know the events of the crime in question. I do know after the fact, all the public stuff he did, like the book he wrote and all these other weird talk show stuff, and how he conducted himself did not seem the way a guy should conduct himself if his wife was killed. Like we had William Shatner, his wife was killed. I think she drowned in their swimming pool.
Oh, that's horrible! I didn't know.
Yeah, this is like his second wife, whatever. And he had like he was just in front of the camera, just like, oh my god, like he was just completely awestruck. So. Like the things that OJ did, all the like up to even a few months ago, he had a video saying I'm healthy. I'm not. Yes, I do have cancer, but it's not life threatening. Yada yada, all this crap, and just everything about him seemed weird. Not the way that a healthy person who is going through grief or going through life rather would seem to behave. But what do I know about celebrity football players who turn into, well, I wouldn't say a movie actor, but his movie acting got cut short as a result. Anyway.
Flags in Spider-Man, there was an accurate tower right there in New York. Instead of pride pins in Dead by Daylight, there were super straight pins. Instead of BLM graffiti and Miles Morales, what about a Trump mugshot? Trans flag in a hat in time? What about a pro-life sign? Now, let's go back to the year 2000 when 6-year-old Elian Gonzalez, due to a custody battle, risked being sent off to Cuba with the backing of Fidel Castro. This was the hot-button subject in the Floridian Cuban community leading up to the 2000s election, just like how George Floyd was leading up to the 2020 election. Now imagine if Pokemon Stadium 2, Shenmue, Majora's Mask, or Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, which all released in the year 2000, all had references to Elian Gonzalez. The inclusion wouldn't make sense to the majority of those games. The only one that could realistically fit within the world would be Pro Skater 2. But regardless of the game, real-world current-day politics shouldn't influence the creative process to such a degree. Having alien graffiti in a video game that came out back then would completely land on deaf ears to anyone playing it today. And if you were to remember, chances are that those memories surrounding the alien controversy would have you thinking about communist Cuba and the feds.
That is a great point in general, even beyond that, because it is similar to pop culture references for making jokes, like our favorite Excel saga, that now nobody gets anymore. Only that this stuff isn't even funny. So he's right, you would just be confused, maybe annoyed by it. And there are book examples as well. In I think it was in 2007, Dr. Stephanie Sarkis wrote a really, really good foundational book on gaslighting. And it's pretty good all over. The advice section is nonsense. But she has a chapter on politics. This, I think, was chapter 6. And half of that chapter is really good because it covers historical figures. Even criticizes Mao Zedong. Wow, brilliant. And the other half of the politics chapter, she had the mind-blowing idea of using contemporary politics, present day, where she then talked about, our politicians on the present day gaslight you, and because the Trump dossier, Trump is being pro the Trump dossier, the whole pissing on Russian prostitutes thing. And the Russian bots that threaten the election and everything. She believed all those things were true. And called the right wing, the Republicans, the gaslighters for denying those things. When really, all of those things turned out to be nonsense. So it was the other side that was gaslighting us. And Miss Sarkis, an expert on gaslighting, fell for the gaslighting in her book on gaslighting, supporting the gaslighters.
Well, I'm glad
It's beautiful.
I'm glad someone's reading these reports. We just found out this week that our RPM doesn't actually read CSIS intelligence reports. It's like, thanks, Justin. That's great.
Well, of course not. He is not here to read. He is here to lead.
That's great.
Yeah, but the warning about this is simply, if you ever write a book with specific references to the current day politics, and current day politics extend about 10, 20, maybe even 50 years into the past. Depends on the topic. Do not especially if it's some serious thing, not some fantasy fiction novel, but a serious book. Do not talk about contemporary politics, because you will make mistakes, because you don't know what's really going on. Unless your book is specifically about those things, then that's another thing. But if you write about anything else, do not use contemporary politics as an example, because your book will turn to shit.
So the point he made was, what if we had the opposite message from the right in these games, from their time frame? It wouldn't fit. It wouldn't make sense. It would feel awkward. No one knows what it would mean. And you would say, geez, here's the obvious bias of the developer or the designer or whoever put this in here, and it does not stand up very well. And we want art to stand up as long as it can, as relevant as it can be. And it's hard to find that in modern games because you just don't get those classics anymore. That at least I can remember. I haven't seen a classic outside of, I guess you could even argue Cyberpunk might have become a classic as it got better. I don't think it's going to be played in the next 10 years or remembered as much in the next 10 years because we're going to have so many other things that are like Cyberpunk and done better. So it's hard finding the next Chrono Trigger or these timeless games that you're going to keep coming back to for that era, even if the technology is way better. You're going to be like, wow, why did these games work so well? And I can't think of any real world insertions, even in, well, maybe the jokes from the Interplay guys with Fallout, that might be a thing. I'm trying to think of like specific ones because those are inherently making fun of the American political landscape if this happened, if the McCarthy era was frozen in time and if we blew up the world. So that's kind of the point, but that's purely a setting scenario, not a message scenario of, yeah, of course, this is what we'd have a giant science experiment on humanity if we blew up the world. Everyone came up.
Yeah, then we're back into philosophy, not politics.
Yeah, and that's just the premise of the game. The game has nothing to do with that. That's just the setting for a vault or a setting for one of the levels. It's not the actual message of the level or of the gameplay. So that's great. I think that can really work well with that kind of story, with that kind of game, where it's about exploring a post-apocalyptic environment. How did it come about? Well, here's a modern example. Oh, it's America, only blown up. Great. So that works well. And you could do McCarthyism. You can do all the jingoism of America from the 60s because it's already happened. It's great. You would not include modern politics into that. That'd be weird. Okay, we got 2 minutes left. I think we're doing okay. This guy's going fairly quickly.
Inspired the summer of 2020. Hopefully I have made my point clear that even if a game's story is heavily rooted in military conflict, international relations, and maneuvering the political world, it can still be done without being an overbearing progressive prog. Just for those in the back, I am okay with a politician character being in the game and even being antagonistic. Just when you make the character a parody of Trump, Obama, or even Vivek Ramaswamy, that's when you lose my interest. Also, if you can tell the difference between Metal Gear Solid and this image I have on screen right here, then you're on the right track.
Everything's political. No, it isn't. Just because you're incapable of self-reflection and you shove politics in everything you say and do, and this causes you to project political motivations onto everyone else, and you're not capable of seeing things as they are, and feel the need to inject your bias into everything and make everything about your pet issues through eisegesis. That doesn't mean everything is meant to be viewed through an ideological lens. Not everything is an allegory for the struggles of the proletariat, or the intersection of race and justice, or whatever bullshit your English professor told you. Just because all you have is a hammer, that doesn't mean everything is a nail. LOL, you're dumb. When we say everything is political, that just means all media is a product of the cultures that produce it. And
oh yeah, this is the deflection. That's not what I meant. This is what I...
Also, we could have just watched this instead. I mean, the guy made a decent job for an average Joe, but very surfacey.
From that context, Media encompasses, so do politics. Therefore, all media is political. First of all, that's not the same as saying everything is political, because the word political has a dictionary definition which you are conveniently ignoring. Politics don't encompass all human experience, and only an idiot would say it does. That or a totalitarian who thinks all art which doesn't support their party is dangerous. Second, even if that's all it meant, maybe you should stop saying everything is political as a rhetorical cudgel to shut down criticisms of propaganda disguised as entertainment, or media being cynically redesigned to insincerely appeal to the current socio-political climate for no reason other than it's what some studio executive thinks will get stupid people who seek validation from pop culture to buy tickets and merchandise. Because that's clearly not what's being argued, you disingenuous weasel. Oh look, the evil corporation who runs sweatshops in China changed their icon on Twitter to the pride flag. Let's buy some sneakers. You're the exact type of person this movie was made for. A stupid consumerist moron who thinks they're smarter than they really are because they read the New York Times. Get the f*** out of my sight. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, basically.
So he added... So this was way better than the actual video. This is probably why he added it in the at the end.
Was that even his content? That was someone else.
No. That is from Possum Reviews.
Yeah. All right. That was weird. Just use
it's up to Possum Reviews, I guess.
Yeah. All right. Well, it wasn't a bad video. I did not, as Whisp was pointing out, we did not like all the desire to subscribe and like the video.
Well, that's the consequences of the YouTube algorithm.
But no, that was too
not like
much.
Not like that, because that makes me whatever the algorithm tries to do makes me not want to stay. That makes me want to leave and never come back.
Support all tech.
I don't know how these are memes, but okay. Here we go. Make America...
Nintendo great again. What the fuck?
America of Nintendo? Nintendo of America?
Who put that retardation together? You would put the Nintendo logo over America.
Make Nintendo of America great again. I'm just okay. Anyway.
Yeah, for example, or that. But I guess that's too much work and thought.
Don't worry, Wisp. Nintendo's getting better at having mature stuff on their consoles. We have Skyrim.
Yeah, well, they don't have authority over that as much as their own shit.
Why are you acting like you're telling me anything?
Attack on Titan 2 is a game? Oh my god.
Nintendo's getting better at having mature... Nintendo has always had mature stuff on their consoles. Have you played the Star Wars games on the Super Nintendo? Have you played Majora's Mask, for fuck's sake?
Have you played Mad World?
Mad
World not Mad World, and that was on the fucking Wii.
How is this Maga Mario?
Also, one more thing on that. Nintendo, contrary to Sony, the allegedly teenage console, Nintendo was not censoring the hentai games on the Switch.
This is too much. I'm not going to read all
that. The Maga Mario one is just because elephant.
What event marked the beginning of the French Revolution? The storming of the Bastille, the coronation of Napoleon, the death of Louis XVI. Okay. This is like a history quiz for like a Mario Luigi comic or something. I promise I won't get all political. 3 drinks later, the self-proclaimed king. Okay.
I mean, he is.
What we got here? Andiamo. Sure.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why she's standing and flexing, but I don't get it. It's just
the third one. That's that's Senator Armstrong on the left there.
I sort of got that, but who's the blonde chick? I have no idea.
Sexy girl. That's all you need to know.
Okay. How do you like that, Obama? I pissed on the moon, you idiot. What the hell?
I don't know.
Oh, dear.
That is not a meme.
Armstrong gets a lottery ticket? How fast is this? 23 seconds. Here we go.
Hey, Raiden.
Oh, dear God.
Let me get a lottery ticket.
You're not gonna scratch it here, are you?
You know what they say, Raiden? A 3 credit card a day makes the $413 billion in home equity loans go away.
How do you let your debt get this bad?
Nanomachines and tax evasion. Something you wouldn't understand, Raiden.
Sir, this is a fucking Texicle.
My results. 3 X's.
You win a SpongeBob popsicle.
Capitalism at its finest.
Okay.
Now I'm what the fuck with that.
That was random. A24 is a film production company. Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, we had that in the chat. And no, this is not a meme. This is you exploiting the meme channel to post your own messages instead of writing in the chat.
Eggbat blows up the moon, destroys Station Square by unleashing chaos, attempts multiple terrorist attacks, probably killing hundreds of thousands of people. The president
doesn't give a shit.
Oh. All right. Finally, a 2020 candidate I can get behind. Eggman? Okay.
He is a feminist.
Oh. Gay rights and gay wrongs. That's good. I like that. Oh, no.
Oh, God.
Man, I can't wait for next-gen graphics. Man, I can't wait for next-gen graphics. Man, I can't wait for next-gen graphics.
Yeah!
Oh.
Oh. Oh, no.
Exactly.
Unreal went too far.
Yes, it did.
Live long enough to see yourself become the villain or die a hero.
It's a Nolan verse reference, yeah.
All right. DNC backfire. Millions plan to write in Sonic the Hedgehog for president after vote blue no matter who campaign. That's great.
I would so wish for that.
At this rate, Sonic will be elected president.
Bowser, baby, you'll understand if you're all equal with the same number of Koopa coins?
Coins, yes.
Nobody can say I don't make the world a better place, can they? No. Wah ha ha ha. Huh?
Anyway.
All right. What evil plot is Bowser thinking up? Draw it here. Communism.
It is the most evil plan.
If you kill anyone with a pride pin in DBD, look the hell out. Says the dude who looks like the first to die in a horror movie. Is he the guy from Blizzard, or where was he from?
I have no idea.
Dead by Daylight company.
Oh, okay. We only have 1 month all to ourselves. What does that mean? That's so silly. The virgin shocker died like a bitch. What? What is...
Oh, yeah, they killed him off in the Insomniac universe.
Okay. Oh, dear. Dr. Eggman is a communist. Okay, whatever. I'm missing one. These Pappy Potty books are anti-day-to-day, so I'm disposing of them. The Communist Manifesto, Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels.
Not wrong.
I don't know what the characters...
The thing on the left is Marx. That is, the character is called Marx.
Oh.
Yep.
And the Nova is a device that you can bring any wish to and it will fulfill it and change the reality to do so.
Yep.
Marxism.
Which is what is required to make communism work.
Oh, dear. Well, I've narrowed your choices down to 5 unthinkable options. I picked number 3. You don't want to read them first? I was elected to lead, not to read. Sad but true. What is this? Positive reviews was part. Everything is political mindset, and
that's not a meme.
I don't know what that is.
That is not a meme. That is a self-aggrandizement.
Kirby is rubber stamping.
Kerbo for president.
Yes.
Knuckles bangs on the desk. You've got mad with power. Knuckles. Oh, really? Well, would someone mad with power prove a law giving himself ultimate authority over everything? Sticks. That's the dictionary definition of mad with power.
Oh yeah, that's from the Sonic Boom cartoon.
Oh.
Which is surprisingly funny.
Yes.
Alrighty. Well, interesting video. I generally liked it. Arguments were very simple. Nothing complicated, nothing over the top. A few good references. A little annoying with the YouTubing.
Yeah.
Being a YouTuber. I would probably watch another of his videos just for the sake of it. It's fine.
Yeah, if he reduces the ads a bit, totally fine. And as I said, for an average Joe, pretty good on the surface. Because you can't expect random people to really know the deep ins and outs. But that average people are starting to take this crap apart, I think is a good sign.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, all these comments are finally being listened upon by normal people going, wait a second, what does it mean everything's political? That doesn't make any sense. So that's good. That's a good thing. We don't have to hear all these bizarre people like, who's that orange, the guy who, all the chocolate orange fellows. He learned all of his politics.
Tabernacle.
The Tabernacle. God, he's probably talked about that in the past as well. I think the less attention we give these people, the better. But yeah, whenever we get a new video from someone new, it's always nice to cover. So that's good.
Well, at least this guy has his head in the right place.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing to come across these days. Anyway, it's a wonderful day. It's been crazy rainy in my neck of the woods, and not getting much sleep. So it's not sure what's going on with the weather.
That's the snow melting and going into the sky and coming back.
We're going into spring, with the precipitation still keep on coming. So
I don't get snow over here, so I wouldn't know.
Oh yeah. Warmer weather sounds nice. Either way, thank you guys for this Friday. It was a nice little video, and hopefully we'll do another one tomorrow. If not, we will talk to you soon. Have yourself a good one. Good night.
Good night.